Today on Locked On Rockies, another couple of duds for the Colorado Rockies in spring. What does it mean? Plus, The Athletic has a hope-o-meter. Where do the Rockies rank? I'm sure you won't be too surprised.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 11th day of March in the year 2025. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day. Free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you that daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. But fighting my mic stand for a few days, so hopefully it's going to be okay for me here. But anyway, welcome in to the show today. We're going to talk about the games, of course, from yesterday, just when we were talking about a reality check and the issues with the Rockies. Well, they're back on full display here in the split squad, mostly in the form of just a couple of real bad innings. It just seems to be the big plague of the Rockies. And stop me if you heard this one before, double-digit strikeouts from the Rockies offense in, let's see, both games. Both games of the split squad, the Rockies striking out double-digit times. So let's take a look here at kind of an interesting spot of what happened in these games and the kind of differences between the starters here, because two pitchers obviously getting the starts here in yesterday's games that are very important to the Colorado Rockies, which is German Marquez and Antonio Senzatella. And Senzatella might be the player we haven't talked about enough here in spring training so far, because it has been a strong spring, and it's a good sign of being healthy here. I'm looking up a tweet from Patrick Lyons real quick because he had some insider look at let's see. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. This is from Patrick Lyons. Rockies right-hand pitcher Antonio Senzatella looked great today in his fourth appearance of spring training. 4 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, and 6 Ks. Senza has allowed only 1 run in 12 innings, a .75 ERA on 4 hits, 2 walks, and 11 strikeouts. A solid to good year from Antonio Senzatella, and good performance from him is game changer. It's a total thing where if Senza is able to start introducing more strikeouts into his game, he's going to be able to add an element that isn't usually one of his strengths, mixed with what should be a good defense behind him, and that's massive. I mean, it's the small sample size, but now we've seen 4 starts here. We've seen a good, above all, health, right? We've seen him now go through a few stretches. We've seen him get some innings under his belt. We've seen it now a few times where it's not, you're kind of like, because remember, Chris Bryant just now getting on-field action at first base, I believe this week or over the weekend. One of those two, mixed with, of course, we're talking about, again, the things that we're keeping our eyes on here. The health of German Marquez. He says he's feeling good, but unfortunately yesterday, not a great start for him in 2 1/3, 5 hits over 4 earned, 3 walks, and 2 strikeouts, far from the German that we need. So it's kind of the two sides of the coin there on the starters for the Rockies, because it's plain and simple. These two guys are the biggest changes to the Rockies lineup this year. It's the biggest difference that the Rockies have going into the lineup this year. These two guys drastically change the depth of the pitching rotation, and they drastically change just how good the Rockies are as starters. And so I'm obviously not that worried about a bummer start for German here in spring, but it just is another kind of reminder. It's another sign, mixed with how the Rockies offense went, of just like we were talking about yesterday, right? When you're kind of starting to see, like, okay, the allure of spring training is starting to rub off, right? It's still the weirdness of spring training that we've talked about before, right? Are we supposed to ignore everything good that the Rockies have done over spring training so far because of the last 4 games that they've played? No, but we can't ignore the problems of the last 4 games, and we have to keep our eyes on them to see if they're trends. And so, again, I need to now see Herman bounce back from this. I need to see Herman come back, because now at this stage of the spring, remember that everything's going to start ramping up a little bit more. It's going to be players that are more likely going to be the major leaguers. It's players that it's the rosters are going to get closer and closer to the starters, and the pitchers are going to start going a little bit longer into the games. So now it's can Senza keep it up and then keep that up into the regular season against the good talent with the varying temperatures and stuff as well? I mean, and the travel and being on the road and the ups and downs of that, mixed with Herman. Like, what type of stuff are we going to see from him? What type of bounce back are we going to see from Herman Marquez, who, it's not necessarily the biggest deal in the world, but 5.68 ERA, he in 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, a 2.5 whip there in that time. So it's not necessarily the most impressive spring here, but it's also it's still just the weirdness, right? It's the weird trying to dive into the analysis of everything of the games and overreact, but then realize it's still, we're still another 2 weeks from game day here. We still got plenty of time for just even to get a little bit more rhythm, a little bit more routine. I mean, in reality, the big stuff is going to start that weekend. I do wonder if any of this stuff impacts who's going to be the starter or who's the opening day starter, but I'd have to believe it's still going to be Herman Marquez. I can't imagine anything else like that. But it's okay. I guess I don't know if it's okay. I guess, yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay if Herman isn't the best version of himself yet. The time is it's a short window, right? I mean, again, for trade deadline, looking ahead to after this season with what's going on with the contracts and stuff like that. But the season is going to creep up, and as we've talked about, the Rockies cannot afford, if they want to avoid the 100 losses, they can't afford the slow start. They got to take advantage of when everyone's in the weirdness of a beginning of a season. But just like a lot of times in what we've seen with Herman, I kind of sometimes it takes time to get going. I'm I guess in a weird way of saying this, and I don't necessarily know how you'll feel about this as analysis, but I'm not as worried about Herman Marquez as I am excited about Senza and Ryan Feltner. I think these guys are showing us here, and again, Senza, we've kind of been up and down, but we've seen good performances from Senza. We've seen good stretches from Senza. If we can get a good Senzatella year mixed with a Ryan Feltner who is showing off some signs of growth and is now going to be entering this season here, the most mature and the most veteran he's ever been. I think, again, it's not going to be the best rotation. It's not going to dominate people, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to make the Rockies a much better team and hopefully keep them in games here. Ryan Feltner so far in spring, 3.38 ERA, 8 innings pitched, has allowed 3 home runs and 1 home run and 4 walks, but 9 strikeouts in that time as well. Something that is going to be great. I mean, I'm over the moon, and it's spring training, but I'm over the moon by the idea of Senzatella being able to add some more strikeouts into his game. I think the Rockies being able to be a pitching staff that strikes out more people is going to be the benefit. We see how impactful striking out a lot is, or having a team strike out a lot on offense when the Rockies strike out 10 times a game. So if the Rockies are going to be able to team that starts doing that, that's going to be very effective, especially if you can keep them off the board and off the bases at Coors Field. So my whole kind of thing with this mix here is there are the pitching, the starting pitchers, or like Herman's start yesterday, isn't my big warning sign concern from the games yesterday. My big warning sign concerns from the games yesterday are the fact that the Rockies' struggles are continuing. The stuff that plagues them continues. 6 walks by the Rockies pitching staff against the Giants there. 3 from Herman and 3 from Jake Bird. Unacceptable from those guys. Just plain and simple, cannot happen. Mixed in with the fact that, again, against the Giants in that split squads game, they struck out 11 times. 11 times. And this is a lineup that did feature Brenton Doyle, Ezekiel Tovar, Ryan McMahon, Chris Bryant, Estrada, Jones here, Stallings. Let's see who else. And, and Sam Hilliard getting an at bat in this one. So certainly plenty of starters in that one. Plenty of players that are looking to make impacts and certainly looking to do some damage here. And then you go to the other side there, the other game with the Rockies spring training where they lose 12-3 to the Angels. The team picks up 9 hits in this one, and when you're looking at the lineup, there's less starters in this one, so not as big of a deal. But on the flip side, though, it's still not a good sign, even young guys or not, when you're striking out another 10 times in the ball game and only walking 1 time. And then you're stifled on offense there basically the rest of the time. So obviously the Angels split training, it's a little bit different because I think this was a situation in which the Angels obviously haven't, I think, a couple more of their starters in that lineup, but still the warning signs, the issues, the problems with the Rockies offense were on full display yesterday. Even with the added bonus of some nice stuff there, and just a rough time overall for the bullpen yesterday. Rockies pitched 6 pitchers yesterday in that game against the Angels in the split squad game. 6 out of the 7 pitchers they used yesterday all had a strikeout, and then 5 of those 7 pitchers that they used yesterday all had 1 walk. So again, those are going to bite you. Those are going to be problems. Those are going to be issues there. I mean, you're going to get boat raced, and I don't think the Rockies offense is going to be good enough to keep up in a lot of those races this year. But it's spring training, not going to overreact too much, but but again, warning signs, right? That we keep talking about. In the last 4 games for the Colorado Rockies, and yes, Monday was a split squad, so important context there, but still a game played. The Rockies have been outscored. What is this? 16. That's 28. And then they've been outscored 36-5. 36-6. 36-7. I'm sorry. I had my quick math, doing it all in my brain there. 36-7. And unfortunately, we've seen those types of run differentials, and we've seen those types of plus minuses where the Rockies are on the minus side of that far too often. When we're talking about the big stuff to be concerned about, it is the continuation of the strikeouts and the continuation of the lack of power on the offense for the Colorado Rockies. That is the stuff that to keep in mind, and that is the stuff that is on my mind as I look at the those 2 games, because it's getting close. I mean, it's just as much as there's time still to adjust and time to get ready. I mean, it's knocking on the door, especially for some guys here that are looking to make the roster, and we'll talk about a little bit about that. But The Athletic has a hope-o-meter, and I know you're going to be shocked to hear this. Hope for the Colorado Rockies, not all that high. Let's talk about that coming up next in today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible. And that includes Supply House. Supply House has got you covered when you are looking for what you need from the skilled trades. You can find all the stuff that you need, whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work. Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website has got all of what you need, not just one thing, the other thing. No, they got the latest product info and everything you need to do the job done right. They got a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands. Yes, that's more than 400 top brands. You'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert and support industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line. You can get all the information you need at supplyhouse.com/TM. Join the Trade Masters program today. That's join the Trade Masters program today so you can get access to all of what you need and more. And not only that, you're going to save 5% off your first order when you use the code H5. Head to supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks and use promo code ASH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, you are in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. It's the best place to interact with the show. You don't want to miss out, because we got lots of folks commenting over there, and we've been reading comments almost every show here lately in the spring. So what's on your mind? What are you catching? What are you following this spring? Are you excited to be back at Coors Field? Whatever's on your mind when it comes to the Rockies, let me know. And I wonder what's on the mind of this YouTube channel or this YouTube user. Sell the team, Monfort. Comments, sell the team. Well, there you go. I think that's pretty self-explanatory there. But I'll read actually a comment here real quick, as we were just talking about pitchers and what possibly the season looks like for them. Let's see, RMK asks, do you think with the injuries to Garrett Cole or Grayson Rodriguez, the pitching market will be desperate enough to make a package that makes the team trade Marquez or Gomber, despite the Rockies' attachment issues? I think that absolutely opens the door for more pitcher trade possibilities for the Colorado Rockies. I don't think they make any moves until the trade deadline, mostly because I think, if you're going to move one of those guys, obviously you want to get Dollander up there. Ideally, there's other guys that you can get, but obviously the big fish would be to get him to come up there. But there's a variety of names throughout the system that could probably come up and fill those spots. If I'm the Rockies and the Yankees are calling like right now, I'm listening. I'm certain and not opposed to it, right? I mean, again, when you're really thinking about this season, is there a difference between trading Herman now versus trading Herman at the deadline? No, but you would like to make sure. I think, like, for example, I don't think a lot of teams are going to be chomping at the bit to sign Herman or to get Herman when we haven't seen him in a couple of, we haven't seen him in a while. We've seen a spring that's kind of like, And I don't think that there's any other pitcher on the Rockies starting rotation. You mentioned Gomber. Let's throw Feltner. Let's throw Senza. I mean, let's throw Kyle in there as well. Let's just throw the whole rotation. I don't think any of those pitchers are enough for a team to get on the phone right now and say, we need to get a deal done. We need to make this deal happen. We need to get these guys. I think that there's probably other teams with other pitching options that are more intriguing for them. For example, the Mariners were shopping pitchers. Like, obviously, you'd rather a Luis Castillo over, anybody on the Rockies pitching rotation. So, yes, I do think that it opens the door. Yes, I do think it makes it more possible. I don't think Gomber's going anywhere. I really don't think a team would be that interested. Certainly, maybe, but I don't think he's done enough to kind of like not. We've seen Herman Marquez pitch at an all-star caliber level and flirt with Cy Young stretches. Obviously not Cy Young seasons, but stretches of seasons that he has been amongst the best pitchers in baseball. But I think for him, for the Rockies, for everything, I think they're kind of waiting until it warms. Like, do we think that Herman's got the most value as a trade asset now, or at the deadline, where maybe even if he's not blowing the doors off people, he's showing that he's healthy, he's showing he can give you 6 innings, he can strike some guys out, and he's got some and he's got his legs under him a little bit. But certainly can open the door. And I think, unfortunately, as we've realized with baseball, and especially with the strain and the stress of pitching, those injuries, unfortunately, will not be the last. But not good for the Yankees, not good for baseball, losing Cole for the whole season. I mean, that's always just tough, man. I mean, and it's. I don't know. I am no doctor. I am no. There's probably a million reasons you can point to. But unfortunately, it just seems like for those elite, for the best, for really just those pitchers that push themselves to the limit and push their body to the limit, it just unfortunately feels like this surgery is inevitable for pitchers, which is just tough. I mean, that's a long recovery and a long training to make sure that you can get yourself back to where you were at and everything like that. So thank you for the comment there. And keep your eyes peeled. Certainly. Again, I think it'll be too early for the Rockies to move on from one of their starters right now, but that won't be the case come up here in closer to the deadline, or even just a handful of, a little bit of time in the season. I just think teams want to see a little bit more from Herman before they're picking up the phone and making the call. Okay, let's go over to the Athletic here, they got their hope-o-meter out today, and it's what they do is it's ranking fans' optimism in 2025 for all 30 teams. So for the fourth year in a row, the Athletic asked their readers a simple question. This is from Stephen J. Nesbitt, by the way. Are you optimistic about your favorite MLB team in 2025? And sorted your answers into optimism scores for all 30 teams. Overall, 66% said they were optimistic about their favorite team this year, compared to 64% in 2024, 75% in 2023, and 66% after the lockout. After combing through nearly 17,000 responses, they got there's 4 responses for each team. So the Dodgers got 99.7% optimism. The Diamondbacks 99.4% optimism on that. Royals up there as well. And then, so you're kind of scrolling, wondering where maybe the rest of the NL East is, or not NL East, NL West. The San Diego Padres, they're at 70.2% optimism there. So a little bit of a drop, but still some confidence in the Padres and the Friars there. And then the San Francisco Giants, 58.6% optimism there at 20. And there's some interesting takes here from some folks there, and some more optimists than pessimists there. Not by a ton, but certainly more positive energy going on there for the Giants than the Rockies. And then we keep scrolling down to 29th. Good news is not dead last, as the Rockies had been for the prior 2 seasons in 2023 and 2024. They were at the first year when they did this, it was 17.2% at 23rd. But this is just the state. And let's read the answers here that they grabbed. Anonymous Pessimist says, I'm more optimistic I'll drink a martini stirred with ice from Pluto than I am that the Rockies will qualify for the postseason in my lifetime. Pessimist Andrew says, even a statement that they are considering forming a committee to explore the possibility of making a plan for the future world count as progress. This is a major league ballpark with a minor league owner. Pessimist Seth says, I'm optimistic that taking in a game at Coors Field will remain undefeated. Otherwise, maybe one day someone really rich will make an offer that current ownership can't turn down, and then we can join the list of teams actually trying to win. Pessimist Craig says, we're safe from relegation, and we're a month from Coors beers on the rooftop. I mean, that's the pulse. Again, another season where the big talking point of the Colorado Rockies is enjoying a beer at Coors Field, because that's all we got. I'm not really going to push back on anything here. I mean, as I have said time and time again, you can't be hopeful in a team that has stuck the status quo. This year is such a big prove-it year across the board, because the brand's on life support, and you're lucky. The only reason the Rockies aren't ranked dead last in that is because of the White Sox. Like, I guess I think why this stuck out to me so much. I'm watching the Nuggets last right, and there's already, are they doing enough for Jokic? Are they building enough around Jokic? But again, the Nuggets got the job done once, and obviously still trying to do it again. And if they don't with Jokic and these guys, it'll obviously be a disappointment. But it's just like, at one point, they looked at themselves in the mirror as an organization. The Avs, have done that a couple of times. The Broncos, I just don't get the disconnect with the Rockies. I just don't get why they're not a team that can instill it. And again, the Broncos don't get off the hook for the last few seasons either. They were spinning tires for a bit. But again, you hit the bottom, you swallow the tough pill, you cut Russ, you're willing to eat the money for a bit, you're going to see what happens and move on. I just wonder when the Rockies, when that moment will come for the Rockies, if it will come for the Rockies. I have hope that this year is going to be better than next year's. I have hope in some of the aspects of this team. I don't have hope that it's a competitive team or a postseason team or again, we're talking 70-win ceiling as we have all off season. I just think that this, like, those types of surveys, those types of stories, yes, that you can just blow them off, but it just goes to show you that Rockies fandom is on life support. Not to the point where, it's going to be, I think attendance is going to be down or anything like that. I bet you attendance will go down if you're able to split everything and get attendance of Rockies fans going to the game to be a Rockies fan, following the team, following the game on the field, not just going for a beautiful day in Denver, which I encourage you to do. Please keep doing it. There again. Watching games at Coors Field will be undefeated. That's what one of those the people said in that athletic piece. But I think the number of passionate Rockies fans is going to continue to decrease as you're going to have hopefully a deep run from the Nuggets, hopefully a deep run from the Avalanche. And then as soon as camp starts for the Broncos, it is going to be Broncos, Broncos, Broncos. This season is really important. It really, really is important. It's either because you either hit the bottom again and at that point you have no choice but to rebound and do something different, or they've hit the bottom and they're ricocheting and they're starting to climb back up. But I don't blame folks for having a lack of faith and a lack of hope. Let's finish out the show with some YouTube comments. We're going to do that next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets. Yes, $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. Hey, I know it's basketball time, but maybe keep your eyes out for those baseball futures as well. You never know. You can find your favorites or maybe pick those underdogs with FanDuel because they got the spreads, they got the totals, they got the game props. You want to support, you can do it there. You can stay with the action with all the games happening almost every day. There's always something going on, and you got that live betting action going on there in the app. Easy and fast. The FanDuel app is simple to use. When you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Locked On Rockies here, wrapping up for the day. Thanking you again for making us your first listen of the day. What do we do out here? We talk about our Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. Here's what TK has to say. Says, rough weekend. Nolan seems to be pressing, and it started AAA, AAA is what that's usually said. Will be a good thing. I'm not worried about Dollander, but obviously he will not make the big club. Feltner looks good until Buddy left him in too long for a spring game. Martini should be the last outfielder in DFA, Hilliard, or Miners. Beck is starting right fielder. Jean Bouchard was going to have something for that, and actually I was going to have that as a topic for today, but I'm probably going to save that for tomorrow or later in the week here because I think the Rockies found their next Jake Cave, and it is Martini. I think that is going to be how that ends up, even though my gut says Bouchard should get the job just because I'm thinking the youth thing. I'm more interested in seeing another Bouchard stint, but we'll see. Martini might be able to provide some big moments there for the Rockies, but if you were to ask me, I think he's going to get the spot there. Lux A says it's just unacceptable with how many players on our team strike out. Not surprised to see that we're doing that a ton once again. Whole team needs to learn a lesson from Juan Soto or something to learn plate discipline. And I'm not worried about Chase, even though he got hit around. Starts like these are a good learning process for young players, so it's good to learn this stuff a lot more early in spring and while you're in the minor leagues than when you are in Major League Baseball. Timothy says, I'm all right with how Dollander has looked. Honestly, I wouldn't mind if Gomber is out to start. If Gomber is out to start Bradley Blaylock. He already made his debut last year and has looked good this spring. Yes, the strikeouts are a problem when you hit at Coors Field, which screams for a team to have good contact skills. That's a great word choice there, because a lot of people just immediately go power at Coors Field. No, contact. Hit the ball in the gap for doubles. Remember, there was a guy, he made the Hall of Fame. What did he do? He hit the ball not only out of the yard, but he hit doubles after doubles after doubles. We know double. Look at Ezekiel Tovar. We know how important and how good hitting doubles are at Coors Field. So that contact is good. Obviously, you need a little pop in there to get the doubles too, but you got to hit the ball. And then we got our other two comments there, making sure that we've already read those as well. But and you can hear those earlier in the show. Folks, that is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. What do you want to know? What are your thoughts? What is your hope for the Colorado Rockies? Let me know in the comment section below, because that is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Find us on your favorite streaming services. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB with our guy Sully. Or if you're getting ready for your fantasy baseball draft, Locked On Fantasy Baseball. Yes, Locked On Fantasy Baseball. They got you covered, going to give you the insight you need to make sure you know what's going on when you are drafting your teams. Folks, if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, Buffs, all free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. And until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.